So find a comfortable seat, whatever that means for you. As I said earlier, this is going to be a class for digestion, which means there's going to be some twists in it. But as you come to your seat, go ahead, take the heels of the hands to the upper thighs. It doesn't matter what seated position you're in. This works no matter what you've ended up in. Got to finish the sentence. And then we'll take it a little side to side. This is a particularly good exercise for the digestive system because it helps to stretch the sides of the body, which we don't do that often. So as you go side to side, you might even linger for a breath or two on one side or the other, feeling how that elongation comes into the flank, the oblique, right? It can be really interesting to see if there is tightness there. Gorgeous. And then when you feel ready, coming back to neutral, let's inhale the arms up in a wide V just above the horizon line. Maybe you turn and look, making sure you're stretching evenly through all 10 fingers. And then the thumbs are going towards the wall behind you as you lift the chin. Take a deep inhale here. And then exhale, float the hands down to the lap, bring the chin parallel to the floor. And if you feel safe and comfortable to do so, go ahead and close the eyes. Going inside, getting the opportunity to investigate. And perhaps the first question is, how am I today? How am I today? How is it to be in this body, on this mat, in this moment? Like a taking stock, like a systems check. And then balance out the physical structure. So that might mean a little wiggling has to occur, balancing out the sits bones, right side, left side. And then tailbone, pubic bone. So the two sits bones, tailbone, pubic bone, are considered the four corners of the pelvic floor, and we want them to be balanced. Another way to think about it is if you were to bring your mind's awareness to the top of your pelvis, the circumference at the top of your pelvis, you want that to be level to the earth beneath you. For many people, that means the tailbone needs to descend. Gorgeous. And then find the connection pubic bone belly button. And it isn't really an action so much as a firming up, right? We're trying to firm the tissue there. And then we can lift and spread the collarbones, arm bones hanging heavy at the shoulder socket, palms of the hands open and receptive. The elbows are hanging heavy, right? Really loosen. I kind of like to do a little flapping of the elbows, like a little chicken. Nice. And then balancing the skull on top of the spine, do a little dip of the ears, left ear towards left shoulder, right ear towards right shoulder. Maybe it's big, maybe it's small. And then balancing that out, ears now equidistant to the shoulders, equidistant to the floor beneath you. Then let the chin dip slightly. That elongates the back of the neck. Can drop the bottom jaw away from the top jaw, creating some space between the teeth. Let the tongue rest in the floor of the mouth. Then relax the cheekbones, the bridge of the nose. Soften the eyes in their sockets. And let the eyebrows spread apart from one another. Left eyebrow to the left, right eyebrow to the right. Smooth out the skin of the forehead. Relax the skin at the temples. And then soften the inner ears. Sometimes that feels like you're dilating the channel of the inner ear. And now turn all of your awareness to your breath. Noticing the inhalation, noticing the exhalation, but also noticing the space in between. So when you inhale and you fill with air, there's a little moment that happens at the very top of the breath when you're all filled up where you pause before you change direction. My favorite analogy is if you were to roll a ball up a hill, at some point, it's going to have a moment of inertia before it changes direction. It's the same with our breath. It's the same at the bottom of the exhale. So you exhale fully. There's this little moment, this little pause before we start the inhale. And so the invitation now, as you're bringing your awareness to your breath, is yes, pay attention to the inhale, the exhale, but bring equal attention to the pauses in between. And it might mean that you linger there for a moment or two. Couple more breaths just like that, lingering in the pause. What does it feel like to explore that space? Beautiful. Then taking the hands together in front of the heart, palm against palm, fingers elongated. Lift the sternum to the base of the thumbs, broaden the collarbones. And then I'm going to invite you to chant the sound of Om with me 3 times. And then I'll do the invocation for those that know it. Go ahead, exhale fully, let go of all the breath you already have. Then inhale fully to begin. Om Sahana Bhavatu, Sahanao Bhunaktu, Saha Viryam Karavavahai, Tejasvina Vaditamastu, Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. May we be protected together. May we be nourished together. May our studies together be filled with brilliance, light, and much enthusiasm, much understanding. And may there be no hatred here. Peace between us and the natural world, peace between all living creatures, this planet and beyond. Take a deep breath. And as you exhale, let the hands fall to your lap. Let your chin come towards your chest. Just take a moment. Take a moment and notice. Gorgeous. And on an inhalation, we can start to open the eyes, fluttering them open, and then we can raise the gaze. I want you to make a mental note which leg is in front if you're cross-legged, and then we're going to extend the legs and iron them out just for a moment. Ah, beautiful. Yep, get all the lint off your pants. And then we're going to recross the legs with the opposite leg in front. And you're going to take hold of your knees. We're going to do this little exercise. It's both a belly and a breath exercise. So inhale here, get very long. Now as you exhale, you're going to try and take your left shoulder towards your right knee. Then you inhale back through center and exhale. Now it's right shoulder towards left knee. You just go back and forth. You make it your own. How deep you go is really up to you and your body. Some folks are going to be able to get very close to shoulder to knee. Others are going to be like, that's never going to happen. That's okay too. But you can feel as you sit up, the air kind of gets pulled back into the lungs. And as you push the shoulder towards the knee, you kind of squeeze all the air out, right? And that's the idea. They call this the bellows action, right? You're using your body just like a bellows. stoking not just the lungs, but also the digestive fire. You can play with the head. I like to turn the head to the extreme of looking over the shoulder. I find I get a nice release through the neck and shoulder when I do that. But obviously, if it doesn't feel good to you to do that or something else is feeling better, I want you to feel like you are empowered to go with your instincts. Let's do one more either side. Nice. And then coming back to upright, natural kind of progression here is to take it into a full twist. So we're going to inhale the arms up towards the sky. Then as we exhale, you're going to go ahead and turn to your right. Inhale back through center. Exhale, turn to your left. So now you're going to go with your breath pace. Might lift the gaze as you go to center. Take your time. You might be going faster or slower than me or your neighbor. And if sitting cross-legged doesn't work in your body, you can absolutely do this in a extended leg position. You can do this in Baddha Konasana. You could do it in a chair. All of these exercises work there as well. Thanks. So using the breath again as a means of helping the body work and using the body to help the breath. All right, next time you land on your right side, and please take your time, don't be in a rush, but next time you land on your right side, pause. I've got the right fingertips behind me on the floor, pressing down. Got my left hand holding on to my right knee. Tailbone is heavy, crown of head reaches up towards the sky. We inhale to get long, we exhale to turn, coming from the belly, the rib cage, the collarbones. The head is basically along for a ride. The head really revolves easily, so we're not trying to crank the head. Matter of fact, to that end, keep the torso turning to the right and take the chin up and over the left shoulder to look down at the floor on the left-hand side. Inhale, and then exhale, coming back to neutral. Take a moment in the center, close the eyes, just pause. Notice what you notice, side to side, left to right. Might be that you feel very uneven. It might be that you feel a sort of diagonality in the body. Not sure if that's a real word, but for our purposes, it can be. Nice. Then as you feel ready, opening the eyes, inhale, lift the arms, lift the gaze. Exhale, we're going to the left. Left fingertips behind you, right hand finds that left knee, tailbone super heavy, crown of head lifting, inhaling long, exhaling turn, navel back. Soften the jaw. And just as we did on the other side, keep turning the torso to the left. Take the chin up and over that right shoulder, looking down at the floor on the right-hand side. Breathing, breathing, best you can. I know we're twisted, it's hard. And then exhale, coming back to neutral. Close the eyes one more time. Just notice. How is it? And then opening the eyes. Now we'll extend the legs again for reals this time. Ironing them out from root to shoot. I'm just going to scooch back. I realize I'm too far forward. Ironing them out, really getting in contact, especially if anything felt cranky in the last pose. You can give it a little love. Now, I'm a big fan of circular actions around the big joints, long actions down the long bones. And then we can point and flex the feet. Point and flex the feet. So hands can come behind the side, so you've got support. Lift and spread the collarbones and get into the feet. Perhaps with gratitude for all that they do for us on a regular basis. The feet are pretty phenomenal, all things considered. If you think that the entirety of your body walks around on these two little surfaces and you manage to stay upright, well, if that ain't a feat of engineering, I don't know what is. Let's do inversion, eversion. So outer edges go forward, inner edges go forward. See if you can keep the feet parallel, toes spreading. Notice if you stopped breathing. And then notice if you're trying to control your feet from your jaw. Coming back to neutral now, squeeze and release the toes, squeeze and release the toes. Good morning, feet. How the heck are you? Big toe up, 4 toes down, like you're hitchhiking with your feet. Very weird thing to do. I used to tell my middle schoolers this is the only way you're allowed to hitchhike. Big toe forward, 4 toes back. And then back and forth. Inhale, exhale. Nice, it's coming. Beautiful. And then can you alternate? It's a nice mental game to play with yourself first thing in the morning. Mental gymnastics, I know. And that feeling of like, it's part of my body. Shouldn't I be in control of it? Why is it so belligerent? All right, scooping up underneath the knees, bringing the feet to the floor. Let's go ahead and let the knees switch from side to side. In the interest of twisting, we can take your glance over the opposite shoulder. So knees go one way, head goes the other. It looks very dramatic, but it feels pretty good. You don't have to have padding underneath your hips, but I think it feels better. So it's up to you. Gorgeous. And then before we go anywhere else, let's do a chest opener over blanket and block. So I've got my trusty blanket. And I'm going to roll it up nice and tight. I've got it in this kind of folded position. I think it makes for a better blanket roll. If you have another method that you enjoy, please feel free to indulge. That goes horizontal across the mat, and then I've got a flat block with the long edges of the block parallel to the long edges of the mat. And then we're coming down, trying to get the bottom tip of our shoulder blades right smack dab on top of this blanket. And if I've done that correctly, when I reach an arm across the body and take hold of the edge of the blanket, it's underneath my armpit. Now, that's not to say that you don't need to adjust once you get down here. I often find when I first come into this pose, there's a little bit of action that needs to take place for me to feel like I'm getting the most benefit out of it. So maybe it's wiggling side to side, maybe it's picking up and replacing body parts, right? There's no wrong way to approach it. So feel free to really get in there. I like to pick up and replace the pelvis, the feet, doesn't matter. Really explore what feels good to you. And then arms go out in a T shape. Backs of the hands are on the floor. Beautiful. And then we've got to kind of figure out if extending the legs is for us or not. So you could try it, extend the legs, and see how it feels in the low back, the hips, and everything. If anything doesn't feel quite right, if you're feeling discomfort, irritation, anything like that, then you're going to keep the knees bent, spin the heels out, and let the knees fall into each other like a house of cards. Right? But if you can have the legs extended for now, just relax the legs, relax the feet. Calgon, take me away, right? It's one of those moments where we just let go of everything. Trying to really release. It can be nice to take the head a little side to side. There's something about having it on the block. Can use the edges of the block to hook the occipital ridge. That can feel really nice. And then when you feel done with any head movement, you're drawing the chin slightly towards the chest to elongate the back of the neck. And then taking a few deep, steady, full breaths right here. Relaxing the belly. Relaxing the eyes. Now, if your legs are extended, we're going to put a little bit of energy, think 35 to 50% action, reaching through the inner heels, rolling the big toes towards each other. We want the toes to be relatively relaxed. It's easy to overdo it in the feet here. Everyone, bent knees or straight leg, is going to draw the pubic bone towards the belly button. You'll feel how that lengthens the low back and extends the tailbone between the inner heels. Then lift the arms up towards the sky. We're going to take opposite hand to opposite forearm like I Dream of Jeannie. And then you're either going to take the forearms clear over the crown of the head or rest them on the forehead. It's up to your shoulders what feels better. You do that one. We don't want to strain the shoulders. They don't react well to it. And then if you're like most people, as soon as you took the arms up and over the head, the chin lifted ever so slightly. I want you to draw it back down towards the chest. Beautiful. Keep the navel moving back and down. Keep the lower frontal ribs moving back and down. Lengthening from the outer hip to the outer rib cage to the elbow. We always have to find as much length as we can in the body, right? Especially if we're going to indulge in a twisting practice. If you think about compression as pain and space is freedom. Make a mental note which forearm is on top. And then inhale, reach the arms behind you. Palms of the hands face each other. You're like a superhero flying upside down. Then on an exhalation, refold the forearms. Now the opposite one is on top. Now it's a different shoulder that gets activated. So this might be where you need to use the forehead. This might be where being over the crown of the head works. Big full breaths here. Can you take your deepest, fullest breaths yet? Gorgeous. On an exhalation, release the arms back out and down to the sides in that T shape. If they're not bent already, bend your knees one at a time, and then everyone brings the feet to the outer edges of the mat. We go in with knees and head in opposition. Knees go right, head goes left, and vice versa. It might feel good to linger on one side or the other. Definitely is good to have your feet as wide as your yoga mat. You want some space here, but if for any reason that's not feeling good, adjust as necessary. And then if you're feeling like, oh gosh, my upper back really needs more love, well, then you worm up and down on the blanket, getting that blanket into different sections of the upper back. It's kind of amazing how much you can get out of this. It's why I teach this pose all the time, because I feel like it's like a kind of like a Swiss Army knife for the upper back. You can get into all these different nooks and crannies to really open up the back in a nice way. Gorgeous. And when you feel ready, we're going to roll all the way to one side. Pick your favorite side. And if you don't know that you have a favorite one, well, just make it up. Use the hands to help yourself up, help yourself out. We're just switching our props around for our next series. So I'm unrolling my blanket and then I'm folding it in half so that I've got support for my head. I've got a block nearby and a strap nearby, and I'm just going to scoot that back a little bit. Beautiful. And then we're coming to lay back down. We want our full head and neck supported by this blanket. So when I come to lay down, I actually pull the blanket up to the tops of my shoulders so I'm well supported. And then just as we did when we came to lay down with the blanket under the shoulders, you might need to pick up and replace things here. So you can see I'm doing a little bit of, looks like wiggling around really, but what I'm doing is picking up the shoulders, picking up the feet, picking up the pelvis, giving the body a chance to level out. Sometimes when we just plop ourselves down on the sticky mat, things get stuck in kind of weird places. From here, rest the elbows on the earth, let the hands fall into the lower frontal ribs, close the eyes, and take just a few soft, quiet breaths into the rib cage, into the hands. Giving yourself a chance to acclimate to our new position. Giving a chance for the snow globe, as it were, to settle down.
Beautiful. From here, when you feel ready, invite that right knee in towards the chest, either folding the hands between the thigh and the calf or interlacing the hands over the shin. Just depends on how your knee feels about it. And then we're relaxing the hip joint entirely. And so for most people, that means that right knee is going to start to drift towards the right. Let it happen. And then turn your head an equal amount in opposition. So my right knee is going to the right. I'm going to turn my head an equal amount to the left. It's fine if your left hip gets light. It's fine if the left knee even moves to the left a little bit. It's kind of counterbalancing. Deep inhale, full exhale. Gorgeous. And then bringing yourself back to neutral. Rest the left arm on the floor beside you. Take your right hand to your bent right knee and start steering the knee around in circles, a few times in one direction, a few times in the other. Let the pelvis rock from side to side, or whatever it's doing. It might be going in a circle like the knee. Just letting everything relax. This is one of the ways we can massage the low back. Great. And then we're going to let go of the knee, stabilize the pelvis, and keep the circles going. So I'm pressing into my left foot, drawing my navel towards my spine. I'm activating the space between my pubic bone and my belly button, but I'm keeping the circles going. Now, if there's any clunking or clicking in the hip, you make the circles a little bit smaller. You might even slow them down, but you can absolutely play around if there's no discomfort, making the circles quite big, making the circles tiny, exploring different realms of movement. Nice. From here, extend the leg up towards the sky, point the toes, and then continue making circles from the hip socket. So now it's like our entire leg is a number 2 pencil, and we're drawing on the ceiling with the tips of our toes. Still trying to keep that pelvis nice and stable, though. That requires more core control because we've increased the length of our lever, right? Our leg being the lever, our hip being the fulcrum. Right? So the stabilization becomes a little more challenging. Notice if you're holding the breath. And then flexing the foot. So now we're drawing circles on the ceiling with the heel bone. Yep, really strong flex, like you're using the heel itself to write, or maybe the heel is the eraser. Beautiful. From here, bend the right knee out to the right, outer right ankle comes to the top of the left thigh towards the left knee. We're coming to Taylor's pose, also sometimes called hip cradle. Couple different options for you depending on your level of interest this morning or how your hips are feeling. You could take your right hand and simply press the inner right thigh away. For some people, that's enough stretch. Others are like, it could be enough stretch, but if my arms were longer, it would be better. And for you, then you take a block in your hands and push the thigh away using the block to lengthen the arms. If you're like, I could still use more, well, then your invitation is to then draw the left thigh towards you, interlacing your hands or using your strap behind the left thigh, drawing the left knee towards you, resisting the right knee away. Both feet then are lightly flexed. If you need to use the strap, feel free to do it. So if when you go to take your hands behind your left thigh, the head, neck, and shoulders come off the floor, that's a really good indication the strap would be useful. Square your hips to the wall in front of you. For 99.9% of people, that means the outer right hip needs to move away from the outer right rib cage. Lengthen the tailbone, lengthen the back of the neck. And then wherever you are, you can absolutely start shifting slowly the legs from side to side. We're looking for sensation. So if you just rock them side to side, chances are good you're going to go over the point where you're getting that extra stretch. Now, if you find that stretch and it's feeling really useful, you want to hang out, then you just pause wherever it is. Take a few breaths. Right? For many people, this is a nice gluteal stretch. For others, it doesn't feel that great. So you got to play around what your body wants. Another couple of breaths. And then bringing yourself back to neutral. Exhale, release both feet to the earth, both arms come down, pause. Notice. Right side, left side. Inhale, exhale. And then let the knee and the head go in opposition. It's a smaller movement than the other ones we've done because the feet are hips distance apart. So it's just this little tick-tock of the knees from side to side, head going an equal amount in opposition, helps you understand what's happening in the pelvis, the low back. Gorgeous. Then coming back to neutral, let's do that much on the second side, exhaling that left knee in towards the chest, taking steps if the knee is feeling tender. Absolutely, you can take the hands between the thigh and calf. Otherwise, hands are interlaced over the shin, and then we're relaxing, letting that left knee drift to the left. If it does go fairly far, take the head in opposition. Breathing here, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the throat, relaxing the belly. Getting an opportunity to pause in positions like this really allows us to let the muscular sensations release and soften, right? Sometimes when you first come here, there almost feels like there's a tightness. But then when we hang out and breathe, then the softness comes. Beautiful. Inhaling, coming back to neutral. Release the right arm to the floor beside you. Left hand takes hold of the bent left knee. And we start to steer it around. Absolutely letting the pelvis do whatever the pelvis wants to do here. Letting it slosh a little from side to side. My teacher always says, right, you've got kind of liquidity in your organs. Let it slosh as you go around in circles. Right, perhaps you're feeling the massage benefits in the sacrum, the back of the hip. Gorgeous. Then we're going to let go of the knee, stabilize the pelvis, but keep the circles going. So it's very important to press into the sole of the right foot, draw the navel towards the spine, and activate that area between pubic bone and belly button. Then you can play around with the size of your circles. Maybe some of them are big, maybe some of them are tiny. Make sure you keep switching directions. Nice, and then extending the leg, pointing through the toes. Nice big circles again, or small, right? But all coming from the hip. Trying to keep that leg as straight as possible, reaching through the tips of the toes. Trying to keep that pelvis stable. I know it's hard to keep track of everything. Soften the throat. Gorgeous. And then lightly flexing the foot, reaching through the heel, now making circles with the heel bone. Okay, big stretch for the hamstring, back of the calf muscle. Gorgeous. And then bending that left knee out to the left, outer left ankle comes to the top of the right thigh towards the right knee. As you feel ready, you're choosing where you want to be. So maybe you're pressing the left thigh away. Maybe you're using the block to accomplish that. Or maybe you're scooping the right knee towards you. Yes, interlacing the hands or using the strap behind the thigh. Moving the outer left hip away from the outer left rib cage to square the hips to the front of the room. Shoulder blades are pressing down. Back of the neck is nice and long. Tailbone is reaching. Hips are heavy. And then as it feels good to you, slowly, slowly, starting to shift the legs from left to right. It's not a big action, certainly not fast, right? You're just looking, where do I get that extra bit of sensation? Maybe you hang out there. Maybe it's the slow action of side to side movement that feels good. And then are you still breathing? Or have you lost track? Gorgeous. Coming back to neutral. Take an inhale here and exhale. Both feet come down. Again, we pause. We pause to notice. Right side, left side, top to bottom. How is it feeling now? And then use the diagnostic tool of that little action of knees and head in tiny opposition, right? It's so small compared to what we were doing earlier, but it gives a lot of information. Beautiful. All right, from here, make sure your flat block is tucked in tight in your outer right hip. Gather up your strap. We're going to exhale the right knee into the chest. Straps going over the head of the heel today. So that's where the arch of the foot stops being the arch of the foot and starts being the heel. And then we're going to extend our legs straight up to the sky. Straight up to the sky. Shoulder blades are heavy. Nice. Tailbone is long. Have enough slack on your strap that you can fully open the back of the knee and that the back of the hip is directly in contact with the floor. So I can bring the leg close to me, but my pelvis peels off the earth. It's kind of like cheating at yoga, right? Yes, it gets the job done, but you're not getting the stretch. Beautiful. Keep the back of the neck nice and long. And then as you feel ready, extend that left leg onto the floor, move it to the left 2 inches. Give yourself a little bit of space in the pose. And then I'm pressing the back of the left leg firmly into the earth. That left foot acts like it's touched a wall, right? It's flexed. And then direct your tailbone towards the inner left heel. Beautiful. Both straps now in the right hand. Right hand has the strap. Left arm reaches out to the left. Palm of the hand faces down. We're inhaling for length. We're exhaling to take that leg out and down to the right. Plug the upper right arm bone into the shoulder socket and refresh the direction of the tailbone towards that inner left heel. That's going to move the outer right hip away from the outer right rib cage. Back of the neck is long, nose is pointed directly up towards the sky. I'm still strongly pressing the back of my left leg into the floor. Your left hip should not feel light. If it has gotten light, you've gone too far. You need to come back up and sneak the block a little closer underneath your outer right hip. It should feel like your pelvis is level, right? And that levelness is where we need to come from for these next actions. So I want you to divide your abdomen into 2 halves. Belly button down, belly button up. From belly button down, we're rolling from left to right. You feel the inner right thigh get long. Belly button up, you're rolling from right to left. You feel the outer left ribs come a little closer to the floor. Nice. Keep breathing. Next exhale, we take that right leg back up to neutral. Listen carefully. Both sides of the strap go into the left hand, and then we're reaching the right arm out to the right. Back of the hand is on the floor. Now, we usually do our manual adjustment here, but I want you to feel it in the body. So plant the back of that right hip back on the floor, and then roll the outer right hip away from the outer right rib cage. You'll feel the right leg turn out. Beautiful. Now, keeping the back of the right hip down, take that right leg to the left any amount. This is going to be a very small movement for most people. It's like something like 10 to 15 degrees. It's not big at all, especially if you're being honest about the back of the right hip staying on the floor. I'm actively pulling on the strap to pull the foot into the calf, into the thigh, into the hip, right? I'm using the strap to help me get that connection. Gorgeous. Take another breath here. And then bring the leg back up to neutral. Spread the straps out between both hands. Take the leg a little towards you, a little away, little towards you, little away. Then exhale, slip the strap off the foot, both legs on the earth. Rest the elbows on the ground, hands on the lower frontal ribs. Take a few breaths here, exploring the difference between the sides. giving yourself just this opportunity to really feel into what's happened can be so useful. And then we're going to switch sides. So first off, we have to move the block. Then we bend both knees. Right foot comes to the floor, left knee comes into the chest, strap goes over the head of the heel, and then we extend. I've got my elbows bent slightly out to the sides of the room. The backs of my shoulders are heavy on the earth. Back of the hip is heavy on the ground, but I'm lengthening through the back of the knee. Yes. Back of the neck is long. Beautiful. And then as you feel ready, extend that right leg onto the floor. Right leg moves to the right 2 inches, and then I'm pressing the back of the right leg down. I'm really firming it into the earth beneath me. Beautiful. Both straps go into the left hand. Left hand has the strap. Right arm reaches out to the right. Palm of the hand is down. Then we inhale through that left leg. Exhale, take that left leg out and down to the left. Plug the upper arm bone into the shoulder socket and direct your tailbone towards the inner right heel. In my body, that means I need to actually give a little bit more slack on the strap, right? Because the leg needs to move down slightly. That's okay, right? The goal is not how close can you get your foot to your shoulder. The goal is how much stability can you keep in the body. Then still pressing the back of that right thigh down into the earth as best you can. Your abdomen's in 2 halves. Lower abdomen, belly button down, rolls from right to left. Inner left thigh gets long. Upper abdomen, belly button up, rolls from left to right. Outer right rib cage comes closer to the floor. Allow yourself now to inhabit the pose. Take a few breaths right here. Gorgeous. Inhale, exhale, take this leg back up to neutral. Switch hands one more time. Right hand has the strap. Left arm reaches out to the left. Palm of the hand faces up. We immediately direct our tailbone towards the inner right heel as we press the back of the left hip down, down, down into the ground. Right? You want that firmness of the back of the hip, then rolling the outer left hip away from the outer left rib cage. Beautiful. Use the strap to really make that connection. I'm pulling strongly down. Then we take the leg to the right, any amount. Now, don't expect it to be exactly the same as it was on the first side. It won't be. Right? For most people. Maybe you do. Maybe you're lucky. You're symmetrical in the hips, but that's not very usual. Our tendency is to be unsymmetrical. Right? Which is fine. Gorgeous. Take another breath here. And then inhale, leg back to neutral. Spread the straps out between both hands. Take the leg a little towards you, a little away, a little towards you, a little away. Then exhale, release the leg from the strap. Both legs are on the ground. Again, you can rest the hands on the lower ribs, or you can relax the arms down by your sides, but give yourself a moment to notice how you are. Notice what's happened. And then just because we can, take the head a little side to side. Make sure no tension built up in the back of the neck, the base of the skull. And then taking the head back to neutral and an exhale, invite the knees into the chest. Give yourself a hug and a little rocking from side to side. Gorgeous. Hands on the 2 bent knees. Let's sphere the 2 knees now together around in a circle. We did each knee separately, but doing them together gives even more benefit to massaging the low back. Nice. All right. From here, you're going to take your block and put the thin block between your knees. I know we often work with it between the thighs, but today we're going to work with it between the knees, at least for now. You're still laying on your back, still have that blanket underneath your head. If the blanket escaped or you moved away from your blanket, make sure it's pulled all the way up to the tops of your shoulders. Draw the knees tight to the chest, lightly flex the feet, and extend both arms out in a T shape. Backs of the hands are on the floor. Now, We're going to move from side to side. We're going to go slow for this first part. So I want you to inhale here. Then as you exhale, let both knees come halfway to the right and pause. So they're about a 45-degree angle. I want you to squeeze the block between the knees and draw your outer left ribs strongly to the floor. You feel a little churning in the belly. You feel a little activation of those muscles. And then we're inhaling back to neutral, exhaling halfway to the left and pause. Outer right ribs coming down, down, down towards the earth, squeezing the block between the inner knees. Gorgeous. Inhale back to neutral. Now as you exhale, slowly, slowly lower the legs all the way to the floor on the right. Beautiful. Inhale back through center. Exhale, bring the knees all the way down to the floor on the left, or as close as you can get. Inhale, come back to neutral. So you're going back and forth, trying to keep the torso, the upper shoulders still in contact with the earth if you can. Nice. If this feels easy, I want you to unbend the knees a little bit, increasing the length of your lever. Right? So this is how we build our Jatra Parvattanasana, which is stomach churning pose, right? It's a strong twist, right? The more you unfold the legs, the harder it is because you start to increase the length of your lever. We've got the block between the knees to help keep space in the pelvis and to keep the hips even. Let's do one more time. Either side, squeezing that block between the knees. And then let yourself come all the way over to the right. So both legs are over to the right. You've got the block between your knees. Hopefully I'm not going to kick my microphone. You're going to extend the top leg and see if you can reach your hand to reach your toes. Your experience might vary. Rolling the outer left hip away. And then those that want to can turn the head to look over the left shoulder. If your left shoulder isn't on the floor anymore, you bend your left elbow and take your left hand to your lower left rib cage. Take another deep inhale here. And then exhale, bend the left knee, release the foot. Well, release the foot, then bend the knee. Then we're inhaling through neutral. Exhaling, second side. So now the knees go to the left. We're extending the right leg. You're going to see if you can reach your left hand to catch your right toes. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. And then if you'd like, you can turn the head to look out over your right arm. If the right shoulder is no longer on the floor, you bend the elbow. The head and shoulders should be relaxed on the earth. Yeah, and if you can't reach the toes, you're just reaching towards the foot, right? Your experience may vary, just like on TV commercials. Gorgeous. Nice. Then bending the knee, release the foot. Inhale, come back to neutral. Take the block out from between your knees and place it horizontally across your shin bones, pressing your shin bones into the block. And then you can absolutely do a little tiny rock from side to side. This one doesn't need to be big because you're broadening the low back. Beautiful. And then I've got one more bit of shenanigan for you here. All right. So you're going to release the feet to the floor. Just take a moment, wiggle around in any way that feels good, any kind of resetting action that feels necessary. Then from here, and it takes a little bit of, I don't want to say practice, but it takes a little bit of doing. The blocks are foam. If they fall, you're not going to hurt yourself, but you're going to try and balance your block on your left foot and then extend your left leg up towards the sky. Remember, if the block falls, it's not going to hurt you. Right? It's just foam. Yep. It takes a little bit of doing, but it absolutely can be done. I promise. And then extend your right leg up towards the sky as well. So I've got the block balanced on my left foot. I've got my right leg up towards the sky. Arms come out in a T shape. And then we're going to take just the right leg out and down to the right, any amount. and then back up to center. So we're working on stabilization in the left leg. Keep breathing. I like to inhale as I take the leg out to the side and exhale as I bring it back up. How far you go, it just really depends on your hip and your core control, right? Don't go so far that it hurts. Yep, if you drop the block, you just come right back in. Soften the jaw. Don't take yourself too seriously here. A little bit of laughter is good for the soul. And if you're finding this very challenging, then this is your homework this week. If you don't have a block at home, you can do a pillow or a book. I've done it with a Pilates ball, believe it or not. That's a whole nother thing. All right, from here, if you can, you're just gonna see what happens. Could you switch feet? Are your feet intelligent enough for your foot to transfer the block? Mine aren't. But see what you can do. So now the block is on the right foot. Left leg is extended, arms out to the side, lengthen the back of the neck, take a deep inhale, full exhale, and then you're taking this left leg out to the side and back, right? It's a real exercise in stability of that, what would be the standing leg, we could think of it, right? That right leg is the stability. Taking the leg out, then using those core muscles we just used in Jatara Parvattanasana. That's what brings the leg back up to neutral. Soften the jaw, soften the eyes. Good work, everybody. I see you. You're doing great. Inhale, exhale. Beautiful. Okay, we're going to switch sides one more time. So put the block back on your left foot. This time the arms can be down by your sides, palms of the hands on the floor. Reach through the right leg. As you inhale, lower the leg forward towards the front of the room, any amount. Maybe you touch the heel bone, maybe not. Then you exhale to bring the leg back up to neutral. Right, now we need to work on that pubic bone to belly button engagement. And again, maybe you touch the floor, maybe you don't. If you need to soften the knees a smidge to make it more accessible, you do it. Otherwise, you're fully extending as best you can. Nice, and maybe the practice is just keeping the block on the foot. That's okay too. Beautiful, last one. And then last side. So you're on your last leg here on the floor. It's like doing standing work. So if you ever have a foot injury, you can't do standing work in yoga, this is a nice alternative. Beautiful. And then we're doing the same exercise here. So now it's the left leg that's lifting and lowering. Right leg is our stability. You're getting really good at catching the block as it falls. I'm impressed. But that's our practice. It's like, where are we finding that stability? I know it's much more work than you think it's going to be. You're doing so well. Keep breathing. Keep trying. That's all we can do is keep trying. Nice. All right, last one. Beautiful. And then draw the knees into the chest. It's going to feel so satisfying. Rock a little side to side. Good job, everyone. Really good job. Even if all you did was try to balance and drop the block, that's still building those neural pathways towards success. Good work. Take the feet to the floor as wide as the mat, arms out in a T shape. Let the knees and the head do big opposition now, just like when we were over the rolled blanket. Letting yourself go side to side. Inhaling, exhaling. Just letting the body find the smooth, capable action here. Beautiful. And then rolling all the way to one side. Use the hands. Help yourself up. Help yourself out. We're coming to our table pose. If you need padding for your knees, please feel free to take it. Otherwise, you're planting the hands well. Index fingers parallel, full circumference of the palm of the hand. Pressing into the earth, knees directly underneath hips. And then we're inhaling, lengthening the frontal plane of the body, tailbone and head lift towards the sky as the belly drops. And then it can feel good to wag the tail a little side to side here. Nice. And then on an exhale, navel to spine, tailbone and head come down. Again, it can feel good to swivel the hips a little bit. You're going back and forth at your breath pace, adding on any little flourishes that feel useful or interesting to you here. Just enjoying yourself. And feel nice to do these really releasing actions in the spine after that kind of focus, stability work. Coming back to neutral, lengthen the tailbone, crown of the head. Inhale here. Exhale, wag the tail to the right, turn to look over the right shoulder. Inhale through center, exhale, second side. Going back and forth. Gorgeous. Coming back to neutral, our next pose is downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. I'm taking the heels of my hands slightly in front of my shoulders, really pressing the full circumference of the palm of the hand into the earth. Tuck the toes under, push the floor away, lift the hips up and back. Think of spiraling the inner elbows towards the wall in front of you. If taking your heels to the floor feels very challenging, take your feet as wide as your yoga mat. Then the heels will often come down easily. Nice. Might pedal out through the feet. You might let the hips twist a little side to side. Anything goes here. Nice. Gorgeous. Everyone lift up to your tippy toes. Lifting the hips high, 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 high. And then draw the heels down and back, lengthening the feet, stretching the calf muscles. Lift up and off the shoulders slightly. Maybe you lift your gaze in between your hands. Nice. And then walk towards your hands, coming to standing forward bent. Uttanasana. Feet are now hips distance apart. Index toes parallel. If you can't take your head below the level of your heart, if that's not feeling good today, you simply take your elbows to your thighs and hang out halfway. Otherwise, you drape the torso down. Arms and head hanging. Can even take the head a little no, a little yes. And then hooking your thumbs into your hip sockets, draw your hips back, lengthen your torso forward. Inhale and come to standing. Good job. We're up. Look at that. We made it. We don't always make it. Let's roll the shoulders forward, up, back, and down. Forward, up, back, and down. Oh, it feels so good. All right. From here, we're going to take our 2 tall blocks to the end of our mat. Oops. Hello, critters. Goodbye, critters. Got our 2 tall blocks at the end of our mat. Coming to stand a little ways behind them with our hands on our hips. Big toe ball mounds, outer heels pressing. Look down at your feet just for now, making sure your index toes are parallel. And then coming to stand back up, eyes are at eye level, chin parallel to the floor. Let's find our Tadasana, our mountain pose. So big toe ball mounds, outer heels, you feel the inner arches lift. I want you to descend the tailbone and draw the navel back. Wrap the elbows towards each other, lengthen through the crown of the head. Beautiful. Feel your standing pose from the soles of the feet to the crown of the head. Relax the jaw, relax the throat. Then from here, soften the knees a bit. Step the right foot forward between your blocks. Left foot steps back. Have a little space between your feet laterally from right to left, so you're more towards railroad tracks rather than tightrope.
Keep your hips squared to the wall in front of you. Find the outer back left foot, press it firmly into the ground. Direct your tailbone towards that inner left heel. Beautiful. From here, inhale the arms up. If you can, look up, look up. Then exhale, hinge forward. Hands come to the blocks. They're directly underneath your shoulders. Nice. From here, if you need to adjust the feet, feel free to do it. Then we're pawing the blocks back to lengthen the front of the torso. And then any amount, we're going to walk the blocks forward. Any amount, we're going to walk the blocks forward. Don't lock the front knee, but don't let it bend either, right? We worked a lot on lengthening the hamstring this morning. Try to maintain that. Kind of think of, we're not going to do it this time, but think of hooking that right hip up and back. Beautiful. Now, listen carefully. We're going to walk the blocks to the right, any amount. So now our torso is at a bit of a diagonal. You have to keep rolling that outer right hip back, back, back. Nice. So Parsvottanasana, pyramid pose. Then we're going to walk the blocks back underneath the shoulders, and we've got a couple of options. So it's possible you're going to need more height. We're going to Parvrita Trikonasana, or revolve triangle pose. So what I like to do is I like to take a flat block underneath the tall block that's underneath my left hand. Block is still on the outside of that right foot. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, look up here. Beautiful. And then I'm taking my my right hand to my right hip, and I'm now turning my torso. So the right rib cage goes up, the left rib cage goes down. So you're actually turning into the standing leg. Yes. Beautiful. Straighten both legs firmly. Turn, turn, turn. So left ribs go down, right ribs go up. Heather, switch your hands. Keep the block where it is, but now put the, yep, there you go. And now take that hand to your, there you go. Beautiful. Yes. Straighten that back leg straight. Yes, there you go. Gorgeous. One more inhale here. Then exhale, turn back down. 2 blocks underneath your hands. Yes. Inhale, once again, get long. Now it's going to feel so satisfying. Exhale, bend the elbows, bow down any amount. Nice. Then inhale, we're coming right back up, halfway. Hands to the hips. Inhale, lengthen the crown of the head away. Exhale, come back up to standing. Beautiful. Turn the feet parallel and then walk the feet back together. Good job. Turn back to front, roll the shoulders, wiggle it out any way you need to. I know these are challenging poses, but they're really useful. They help to wring out the internal organs in a very useful, nice way. I'm just turning around so you can see the active leg. You stay pointed in the same way you are. So we've got our 2 blocks. Let's come back to our Tadasana, our mountain pose. Right? I like the Tadasana. It's like, ta-da, right? We're here. Here we are. Big toe ball mound, outer heels. Make sure your index toes are parallel for now. Navel back, tailbone long, elbows wrapping towards each other. Not so much that I'm pushing my frontal rib cage forward, trying to keep it tamed over the circumference of my pelvis. Then I'm reaching the crown of my head forward, or up rather. Forward, kind of. Then left foot steps forward, right foot steps slightly back, right? Even if you're not a taller person, I want you to have 3.5 to 4 feet between your legs. Gorgeous. Then square your hips to the front of your mat. Press that outer right foot down, 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 right? This leg, you think about locking. It won't stay. That's okay. This leg, you make sure that it doesn't lock. So front leg, you've got a little secret bend in the knee, but I'm not bending it, right? It's just this little unhinging so that it's not locked. Then we inhale the arms up, look up, reach up. Exhale, hinge forward, find your blocks underneath your shoulders. Yes, adjust the feet if necessary. Right? I often find when I come down, I need a little bit of something. And then paw the blocks back towards you. This helps you to lengthen the torso. You might even look up. Gorgeous. Keep that back heel heavy as you walk the blocks forward. Hopefully you don't have stuff in your way like I do. All right, so we're getting really long. I'm still thinking about that outer left hip moving back, back, back. So you can even, and I know we didn't do it on the first side, but let's go ahead and do it here.
take your left thumb to your left hip crease, keep your right hand on your right block, and hook that hip back, 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 back. Nice. Return your left hand to your block and then walk the blocks over to the left. Nice. So now my blocks are on the outside of my foot, but they're far away from me. Keep pressing that outer right foot down, down, down. Take a breath here. I know it's challenging. And then walk the blocks back to underneath your shoulders, but the torso stays diagonal. So my blocks are still on the outside of my left foot. And then if you didn't have enough height on the first side, maybe this time you take a medium block underneath your tall block. And so I've got my right hand on my stack of blocks, right? I cross them if I'm using a medium block. That's a little more stable. And then take your left hand to your left hip, draw that left hip back, inhale, get long. Then as you exhale, now it's right ribs down, left ribs up. You turn any amount. It might be the smallest thing ever. Maybe you'll be glad to know that this is my least favorite yoga pose, just about. I've got one that I dislike even more. But they say you need to do the poses you dislike more than you need to do the poses you like. Gorgeous. Take another inhale here. Everyone looks so stable. Exhale, turning back down. Blocks now on either side of that left foot, right underneath the shoulders. We paw the blocks back, lengthen the spine one more time. Then exhale, bend the elbows, bow down any amount. Nice. Inhale up halfway, hands come to shoulders, hand comes to hips. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, navel the spine, come to stand. Turn the feet parallel. Walk or jump the feet back together. Whew. Turn back to front. Just stand in Tadasana for a moment, both feet on the floor, shoulder blades down the back, reaching through the crown of the head. Close the eyes and just notice how it is. Beautiful. Then from here, step the feet a little wider than hips distance. You can even let the toes turn out slightly. We're going to soften the knees, fold the elbows. We can inhale, lengthen up, look up, and then exhale, drape ourselves down, head and arms, torso draping. And then you're welcome to pendulum the torso a little side to side. Just as a nice way to release any tension through the low back, the shoulders, the head. Right, it can be a really nice way to work after that kind of balancing shenanigan, right? Even though we weren't on one foot, it certainly felt like we were kind of balancing in our poses. All right, from here, release the hands to the floor and then start to bend the knees, coming down. We're preparing for our inversion today. And so my suggestion, so you're coming all the way down onto your knees. Coming back down onto planet Earth. Maybe you missed her. And so we're going to do our inverted practice, and the options are either a flat block, a medium block, or two flat blocks on top of each other. We're going to come down onto our back body now, nothing underneath us except for the sticky mat. Coming down, bent knees, bent elbows. So my elbows are driving into the earth, my feet are driving into the earth. I'm going to inhale, press down and lift my hips. And then I'm sliding either my block or my blocks underneath my pelvis. So you've either got a flat block, a medium block, or two flat blocks on top of each other. It's directly underneath the sacrum. So you should feel like your lower back is long, right? It's not in the lumbar spine. It's right at the back of the hips towards the tailbone. Beautiful. And then keep pressing the elbows into the earth so that you can draw your shoulder blades towards each other and down the back. And then you can either leave the elbows digging into the floor, or you can relax the arms down onto the earth, back so the hands are pressing. Keep rolling the outer upper arms down as you exhale the knees into the chest and inhale the feet up towards the sky. Yeah, if you don't feel stable on your blocks, you come down and adjust. Don't adjust while you're up. And then we're going to just breathe here for a moment, but we are going to do our variations that we practiced earlier. right? That was all so that we could get here. So breathing here, back of the neck is long. Your left leg is your stable leg. Imagine it has the block on it. And then you're going to take your right leg any amount out and down to the side. It's going to be much less now, right? You're not going very far. And then back up. So a couple of times like that, right leg to the right, and then back up. Right? It's very different here than when our whole back is on the floor. So be conscious of what's happening. Nice. And then we can do the other side. So now right leg is stability, left leg goes out and back up. It's not unusual to have one side that you're like, oh, I can go a lot farther on that side. Keep breathing. Don't hold the breath. It got very quiet. Gorgeous. Coming back up to neutral. You know where we're going next. Right leg goes down towards the wall in front of you and then back up. And then we can just go back and forth one side, then the other. Keep rolling the outer upper arms down towards the floor. Don't lose the doming of the chest. Nice. And then both legs up towards the sky. Just pause in your stability. And then exhale, slowly, slowly bending the knees, slowly, slowly bringing the feet to the earth. Pause with the feet on the ground. And then push the feet down, lift the hips, slip your blocks out from underneath. Roll down the length of the spine, one vertebra at a time. And then exhale, knees into the chest. Give yourself a little squeeze, a little rocking from side to side. And then hands on your bent knees, steer the knees around in a circle, a few times in one direction, a few times in the other. And then we're setting up for Shavasana. I know it's kind of hard to believe this class went by very, very quickly today. Here's how I would suggest you set up. You can always absolutely do whatever you want, but I love this way of setting up for my body. Maybe you enjoy it as well. If you need to put on another layer, it got cold where you are, feel free to cover up. But I've got my blanket for my head. I've got my 2 flat blocks for underneath my thighs. I'm pulling my bolster on top of me, lengthwise from my pelvis to my sternum. And then I'm using my strap to go over my eyes. So I've got all my props kind of going for me here. Make sure that your blocks are horizontal behind the thighs and they're just behind the thighs, not underneath the buttocks. And then before you fully commit to stillness, open the mouths wide, stick the tongue out, really stretch the jaw, stretch the throat, stretch the tongue, stretch, 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 and then bring the tongue back into the mouth. Let just the lips come back to touch and let go yourself completely. Let loose yourself completely. Let yourself rest here in stillness and silence, knowing now there's nothing to do.
Now you may have found yourself in a very, very sweet spot and you're not ready to move. And if that's you, I want you to just stay where you are, even if you're here in the room in Richmond with me. If you're feeling it, you want to stay right where you are. There's no reason to move right now. Just stay to the very end. Others, you're at home, you can stay for as long as you have. Now, you might be someone who's now ready to move and you're feeling like it's time. And if that's you, I want you to just start by deepening the breath. Deepening the breath, coming back to the surface of the body. Beginning to bring little movements back to the fingers, back to the toes, back to the ankles and the wrists. And then if you have something on top of you, you're going to push it off to the left-hand side. And on an exhalation, you'll draw the knees into the chest, giving yourself a hug. And then very slowly, very mindfully roll to your right side, pause on the right side. Just feel the earth beneath you. And then use the hands to slowly push yourself back up to seated. Back up to seated. And we'll end as we began. Even if you decided to stay laying down, you're still with us in spirit. Those that have sat up, tailbone descends, crown of head ascends. Let's take the hands together in front of the heart. Lift the sternum to the base of the thumbs, broaden the collarbones. On an exhalation, take the chin forward and down, bowing to the seat of the soul, bowing to that divine inner wellspring of kindness, compassion, patience, and joy. The light in me is deeply honored by your light, grateful for your practice, and humbled by your presence. And if no one's told you yet today, I love you, and I'm convinced of your capacity to continue to craft a life worth living. Thank you so much for being here. Namaste. Namaste to everyone here in the room. Namaste to everyone at home. Thank you. Thank you. As always, it is a pleasure